The late Queen Elizabeth was always known for her calm and controlled presence in public. Even after decades on the throne, she rarely showed emotion, but there were moments, rare and surprising, when even the Queen couldn't hide what she really felt. For years, these moments were kept quiet, but recently a professional lip reader revealed what the Queen actually said to Princess Diana on her wedding day, and why she was clearly unhappy at William and Kate's royal wedding. In this video, you'll also learn the real reason Queen Elizabeth refused to attend Charles and Camilla's civil ceremony, and what made her truly upset with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Stay with me as I uncover the royal secrets hidden behind the gates of Buckingham Palace. Royal chef Darren McGrady described one of those rare moments when the Queen showed her anger. He had served Her Majesty for years and knew better than most how precise and particular she was about food. Every day, the Queen expected a printed menu for breakfast, lunch, afternoon tea, and dinner. All dishes had to be pre-approved, no surprises allowed. And if the chefs wanted to offer something new, the full recipe had to be submitted in advance. That was the rule. But one summer at Balmoral, Darren made a mistake. A small one, but enough to make the Queen visibly upset. He had suggested a traditional Scandinavian dessert, layers of cinnamon crumble, stewed fruit, and whipped cream. It was called Veiled Farmer's Daughters, but instead of including the recipe, he simply wrote the dessert's name in the Queen's menu book. And then came the note, handwritten by Her Majesty herself. What or who are the Veiled Farmer's Daughters? Darren later admitted, "I still remember the one time I made her really angry." Luckily, he was given a second chance. He sent the recipe, the Queen approved it, and soon it became a summer favorite in the royal household. But the lesson was clear. Even in the royal kitchen, a missing recipe could bring a storm. And speaking of the Queen's culinary preferences, did you know there was one ingredient that could truly make Her Majesty lose her temper? Garlic. She absolutely hated it. Bringing her a dish with garlic was unthinkable. Luckily, every royal chef knew better. One of the Queen's favorite meals was Dover sole with spinach and zucchini, light, elegant, and perfectly refined. Her husband, Prince Philip, on the other hand, adored salmon kulibiak, a rich and flavorful dish with Slavic roots. Now, here is something special. These recipes and many more can be found in a brand new cookbook called Elegant Main Dishes, a cookbook inspired by royal families. This isn't a collection of overly complicated palace meals. It's a hand-picked selection of royal-inspired dishes from across Europe, simplified and adapted for home kitchens. Inside the book, you'll discover not only delicious main course recipes, but also fascinating insights into the food traditions of European royal households. Available now on Amazon in both Kindle and hardcover editions. Click the link below this video to visit the store. Give yourself or someone you love a taste of the royal table. History also remembers a few rare moments, almost forgotten, when even Queen Elizabeth II couldn't hide her frustration. One of the most talked about incidents happened in 2007 during a photo shoot with famed American photographer Annie Leibovitz. The Queen was dressed in her garter robes and crown when Leibovitz suggested she remove the crown to look less dressy. That struck a nerve. The Queen immediately snapped, "Less dressy." Pointing at her outfit, she replied sharply, "What do you think this is?" Moments later, she was overheard saying, "I'm not changing anything. I've had enough dressing like this. Thank you very much." Although the BBC later apologized for misrepresenting the footage, this rare outburst revealed a side of the Queen the public almost never saw. Another moment came in 2002 while Her Majesty was watching Prince Philip compete in carriage driving. As photographers crowded too close, the Queen's patience ran out. She waved them away and yelled, "Do you mind?" Even earlier, during a royal tour in Australia in 1954, A row between the Queen and Prince Philip was caught by a film crew. Prince Philip stormed out of their chalet, followed by a flying tennis racket and the Queen's raised voice shouting for him to come back. That moment was described years later in Ingrid Seward's biography, Prince Philip Revealed, and in 2016, during the Queen's 90th birthday celebration, another small but telling moment occurred. Prince William had crouched to speak with Prince George during the balcony appearance at Buckingham Palace. The Queen didn't hesitate. With a glance and firm voice, she said, "Stand up, William." It was a reminder that even within the family, the Queen demanded decorum, especially when the whole world was watching. Each of these moments was brief, but together they show that even the most composed monarch in modern history had limits. Another rare moment when the Queen lost her temper happened after watching a popular Netflix series, The Crown. At first, Queen Elizabeth was reportedly intrigued by the show. According to insiders, it was the Earl and Countess of Wessex who encouraged Her Majesty to watch it during quiet Saturday evenings. And it seemed to be a success. Even actress Vanessa Kirby, who played Princess Margaret, once said that Princess Eugenie mentioned her granny really liked the first season. But that admiration didn't last long. According to The Express, one episode in particular left the Queen deeply upset. It was episode 9 of season 2, a dramatic retelling of a disagreement between the Queen and Prince Philip over where to send young Prince Charles to school. In the show, Charles is shown struggling at Gordonstown, the harsh Scottish boarding school his father had once attended. He is bullied, lonely, and ends up crying. Prince Philip, portrayed by actor Matt Smith, calls him bloody weak and shows no sympathy. That scene, according to a senior palace source, was especially painful for the Queen. She understood that many viewers take The Crown as a true depiction of royal history, the source said, but she was particularly upset by the way Prince Philip was portrayed. As a cold and unfeeling father, she knew that wasn't who he was. One moment that especially struck a nerve was a fictional scene in which Philip flies home with a tearful Charles, showing no emotion. That simply did not happen, said the insider. Prince Charles himself has acknowledged that his time at Gordonstown was difficult, but over the years he also said that the school taught him resilience. Still, the Queen could not overlook the distorted image of her beloved husband, especially knowing how much the public trusted what they saw on screen. So, while The Crown may have reignited public fascination with the royals, for Queen Elizabeth, one particular episode crossed a line, turning admiration into quiet frustration. Next, I'll tell you about the moments when the Queen truly couldn't hide her displeasure, and she had every reason for it. One such moment occurred at Prince Charles' wedding. The world watched in awe as Lady Diana stepped out of her carriage on July 29, 1981. Just 20 years old, wrapped in layers of ivory silk taffeta, she looked like a fairy tale princess about to marry a future king. Millions were glued to their screens, waiting for the moment she would say "I do" to Prince Charles. It was supposed to be the perfect royal wedding, but behind the palace walls, not everything was as magical as it seemed. For decades, no one knew what the Queen said to Diana on the Buckingham Palace balcony that day. The two women stood side by side, waving to the crowds, smiling, silent, or so we thought. It wasn't until recently that a professional lip reader shared the truth in an exclusive with the Mirror. As Diana smiled nervously at the thousands gathered below, the Queen gently leaned towards her and said, "Look at them, they've been waiting all day just to see you." A simple phrase, but one that said so much. It was as if the Queen, often known for being reserved, wanted Diana to take it all in, to understand the weight of what had just begun. That moment of kindness stood in sharp contrast to everything else that surrounded Diana's wedding, because the night before she received a note from Prince Charles, a message meant to calm her nerves. "Just look 'em in the eye and knock 'em dead," he wrote. But Diana would later reveal something heartbreaking. That same night, Charles told her he didn't love her, According to Diana's close astrologer, he didn't want to start a marriage on a false promise. For the young bride, those words were devastating. The ceremony may have been filled with pageantry and cheers, but behind the veil, Diana's fairy tale was already beginning to crack. When Prince Charles told Diana the night before their wedding that he didn't love her, he was telling the truth. Because all those years, only one woman held his heart. Her name was Camilla, and though their relationship was once a royal scandal, years later, Charles finally fulfilled his dream and made Camilla his wife. But when their wedding day came in April 2005, one thing surprised everyone. Queen Elizabeth II didn't attend the ceremony. You might think she was angry, that she disapproved of Camilla, or that she never forgave her son for how things unfolded with Diana. But the truth, it was something else entirely. Charles and Camilla were both divorced, and under the rules of the Church of England, they couldn't have a traditional church wedding, so they chose a civil ceremony at the Guildhall in Windsor, followed by a blessing at St. George's Chapel. Crowds gathered. Charles and Camilla smiled and waved, but Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were not there for the civil service. It wasn't about disapproval, it wasn't about judgment, it was about duty. According to Charles' official biographer, the Queen made her position very clear. As Supreme Governor of the Church of England, you don't do civil ceremonies. She supported the marriage but chose not to witness it in person. Instead, she and Prince Philip joined the couple later that day at the church blessing inside Windsor Castle. And more than that, the Queen hosted the reception herself. There, in a rare moment of warmth and humor, she gave a touching speech. As a lifelong fan of horse racing, she compared Charles and Camilla's journey to a difficult steeplechase. They've overcome Becker's Brook and the chair and all kinds of terrible obstacles. They've come through. I'm very proud. My son is home and dry with the woman he loves. It wasn't a grand state wedding, but it was a quiet victory for love, for second chances, and for a future king finally standing beside the woman who had always been there. And though she didn't watch them exchange vows in the Guildhall, the Queen made one thing clear that day. She had accepted Camilla, not just into the family, but into her heart. By the early 2010s, the royal family's image had taken some heavy blows. Years of scandal, divorce, and public criticism had left their mark. The monarchy needed something or someone to restore its magic. That someone was Kate Middleton, a commoner with class, grace, and quiet strength, the perfect match for Prince William, and the perfect woman to help bring the royals back into the hearts of the people. The Queen saw it right away. She approved of Kate, welcomed her into the family, and fully supported the wedding. After all, this wasn't just a royal event. It was a moment of hope for the future of the monarchy. And so, on April 29, 2011, the world witnessed a spectacular royal wedding. 2,000 guests filled Westminster Abbey. Over 36 million people watched the broadcast. Kate, in her elegant Alexander McQueen gown, captured the world's admiration from the very first step. And the Queen, according to royal biographer Andrew Morton, she was positively glowing, practically skipping with joy as the crowds erupted in cheers. She turned to Prince Philip and whispered, "That was excellent." But even on that near-perfect day, there was one small thing that didn't sit right with Her Majesty. As the newlyweds left the abbey and climbed into a majestic open carriage, the Queen, standing just outside, leaned to Prince Philip and said, "I wanted them to take the smaller carriage." The carriage they chose, the 1902 State Landau, was the most elaborate and grand vehicle in the royal collection. It had been used by Charles and Diana, by Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, but it wasn't the Queen's favorite. You see, Queen Elizabeth had a deep emotional connection to a different carriage, the glass coach. It was the one she rode in on her own wedding day in 1947, and it was used again when her daughter, Princess Anne, married in 1973, and when Lady Diana arrived at St. Paul's in 1981. For the Queen, it wasn't just a carriage, it was a symbol of tradition, continuity, and personal history. The glass coach had been prepared, just in case it rained, but the skies were clear and the palace team opted for the more impressive state landau. It was a practical choice, but not the one the Queen had hoped for. She didn't complain. She smiled, she waved, and the wedding went on to be one of the most celebrated royal events in history. But for those who know how much the smallest details mattered to the Queen, that quiet comment, caught only by a professional lip reader, told a story of its own. Because even on a day filled with joy, a monarch never forgets the meaning behind tradition. But the Queen's true anger surfaced at Harry and Meghan's wedding. While she had tolerated a lot over the years, that day something clearly didn't sit right with Her Majesty, and she had her reasons. Tradition was something Queen Elizabeth held dear, especially when it came to royal weddings, and Meghan Markle broke several of those long-standing traditions, all in one day. Let's be honest, that's a pretty big reason for an elderly person not just to get upset, but to clutch their chest in shock. The Queen had a team of doctors monitoring her health around the clock. But what about the rest of us who don't have that luxury? Now you can check your heart rate right from your iPhone. Just place your finger on the camera and the Heartscape app will fully analyze your condition. It's never been easier to keep an eye on your health. Click the link below this video and try Heartscape for free. So let's continue. To begin with, Meghan chose to wear a long white bridal gown and a flowing 16-foot veil, even though it was her second marriage. According to royal biographer Tom Bower, the Queen quietly questioned the decision, reportedly asking, "Why does she need a veil?" For the monarch, this wasn't just a fashion choice, it was about symbolism, and wearing white was traditionally reserved for brides who had never been married before. Her close cousin, Lady Elizabeth Anson, later revealed that the Queen thought Meghan's Givenchy dress was too white. Camilla, who had also been divorced, wore a modest off-white outfit and skipped the veil entirely for her wedding to Charles. But Meghan wanted something grand, and she got it. Her veil, embroidered with flowers from all 53 Commonwealth nations, was stunning and dramatic. But it wasn't just the dress that troubled the Queen, it was the drama behind the scenes. Meghan had reportedly upset the Queen's trusted dresser, Angela Kelly, over the choice of tiara. According to reports, Meghan was unhappy with how the tiara fitting was handled, and Queen Elizabeth wasn't pleased with the way her staff was treated. To make matters worse, Meghan's father didn't attend the wedding. The Queen was said to have encouraged Meghan to fix things with him before the big day, but that never happened, and Prince Charles had to walk Meghan down the aisle instead. According to royal author Katie Nicole, the Queen believed the situation could have been handled much better. And then there was Harry, who begged the Queen to let him keep his beard while wearing his military uniform. Royal tradition forbade it, but the Queen perhaps reluctantly allowed it. All of this added up, and although the Queen tried to stay composed, cameras caught her looking unusually stern during the ceremony. Later, royal insiders revealed that the Queen was deeply hurt by how everything unfolded. She reportedly confided to a close friend that she was simply exhausted by all the drama. "I don't know, I don't care, and I don't want to think about it anymore," she said. She had loved Harry, but even she couldn't approve of the path he had chosen. The Queen had seen it all: royal weddings, scandals, abdications. She remained calm, graceful, and above all, discreet. But as we've seen, even Her Majesty had her limits, and one of those limits had a name: Lilibet. After the joyful wedding of William and Kate, the royal family seemed to be stepping into a new, stable era. But soon came a wave of unexpected tension, this time from Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle. They had already shocked the monarchy by stepping away from royal duties, moving to California, and launching a public campaign of criticism against the firm. But according to royal expert Phil Dampier, speaking to The Sun's royal exclusive show, the biggest blow came in 2021, when they named their daughter Lilibet. That name was sacred. It was Queen Elizabeth's childhood nickname used only by her closest family, her parents, her sister Margaret, and her late husband Prince Philip. The Sussexes claimed they had the Queen's blessing, but royal insiders told a different story. They said the Queen was never asked, and worse, she felt blindsided. Phil Dampier revealed that before her passing, the Queen was quietly hurt by this decision. "I don't think she was very pleased that it was presented to her as a fait accompli," he said. "She was a little upset by that. And she had a reason to be. The Queen feared that any photo taken with her new great-granddaughter could end up being used, not as a family memory, but as media content." There was always a fear, Dampier explained, that Harry and Meghan would turn up with a Netflix crew in tow, that whatever happened could be repackaged into a podcast, a documentary, or a PR moment. That's why no official photo of the Queen with baby Lilibet was ever released. According to Dampier, the Queen made a firm decision: no photo, no media circus, no exploitation. And who could blame her? The trust had been broken. The hurt didn't stop there. From Oprah's explosive interview to public accusations of racism and neglect, Meghan and Harry's every word felt like another wound to the monarchy. But for the Queen, dignified and private until the very end, it was the use of her personal name without permission that struck the deepest. The late Queen Elizabeth always appeared calm and composed, but even the most patient monarch had moments when she could not hide her frustration. These rare stories remind us that behind the crown was a real woman with feelings, values, and limits. For over 70 years, she served with dignity and discipline, and that's why millions of people around the world respected and admired her. What do you think? Should a monarch always hide their emotions? Or is it okay to show them sometimes? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching.